In this video, we'll be taking a look at the various WordPress settings that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with your first installation of WordPress. In order to access the settings section of your WordPress installation, simply go to the left-hand navigation, find the settings, and click the little arrow to expand them down. Let's start off first with the general settings. Once I access the general settings, you're going to notice that I have several bits of information like my site title, my tagline, my WordPress address, my site address, my email address, and then various other components that I have the ability to change. Let's talk about a few of the key differences here. The site title. This is the actual title of your blog, so that if you're ever creating a theme or you're using the title aspect in any way, this is what's going to be displayed. For instance, mine is called WordPress 101. Therefore, the link at the top of my home screen here says WordPress 101, and that's the visit site link that I can use to get back to my site at any time. If I were to change this name, that name at the top would automatically update. So let's go ahead and change this now. So I'm going to add a little something to it here. And for my tagline, I'll go ahead and update that as well. I'm not actually using it anywhere right now, but I can go ahead and change it. So basically what I've done, I've changed WordPress 101 to WordPress 101-Learn WordPress. And the tagline is now, learning is so much fun. If I click Save Changes, it saves those changes, and at the top you'll see WordPress 101, Learn WordPress, and if I visit my site, you're going to notice here that it says WordPress 101, Learn WordPress, and underneath it there's my tagline, Learning is so much fun. And anytime I call those specific features in my theme or anywhere in my site, you are going to see that pop up as those two instances that I've just changed. If I close this up and change it back, you'll see just how easy it is to switch it again. So I'll just change that to WordPress 101, click Save Changes, and now it says WordPress 101 at the top. Opening up again, takes me back and it just says WordPress 101. So that's how quickly and easy it is to change things here inside of the WordPress dashboard and have it reflected in your site. Now let's discuss some of the other options that you have down here. Membership. This means that you allow people to register for your site, become users of your site. This is a great way to kind of track people if you want to see exactly who's coming to your blog and so forth. So if you want to allow them to register for your blog, you can. Or if you happen to be running a membership type site, you would probably want to turn that on as well. The new user default role. This means when someone registers for your site, what capabilities will they have when viewing and working with your site? Most likely you're going to want them to be a subscriber. You wouldn't want to give them administrative rights over your site or editorial rights either. However, you may want to open up certain areas of your site to different authors. Let's say if you're running a big time blog that requires you to have multiple people. So you may have a registration form or something set up and your default role be set to author or contributor. That's totally up to you. But for safety's sake, let's just leave that on subscriber for now. Now you can also change your time zone if you wish. You can access your time zone by clicking right on that little arrow and then scrolling through to find the exact time zone that you're looking for. There are a ton in here, so you might want to be careful when picking this one to make sure you get the right one. I can just simply click away from it to automatically close it up. I can also change the date and time format as well and specify what day my week starts on. Once I've set up all of these options, all I have to do is click Save Settings and my settings will be saved. Now let's take a look at the writing settings. Inside the writing settings, these are all options that pertain to creating posts inside of WordPress, posts or pages. And so in this case, it's going to ask me the size of the post box. Right now it gives me 20 lines, and that's actually kind of small. So let's say that I wanted to expand that a little bit. I could simply change that to 25 lines, 30 lines, 50 lines, whatever makes you feel more comfortable when crafting your posts or pages. That's what I would change that to. And this is just going to be some trial and error till you find what works for you. Formatting options. Does WordPress automatically convert emoticons to graphics? Basically that means if you do a little text smiley face, WordPress will automatically create a little graphic smiley face for you instead of that little emoticon. If you want that turned on, leave it checked. If you want it turned off, uncheck the box. The default post category. If you have categories set up, you could choose different categories from here to be the default category. That way you're not always having to go in and set it to a specific category when making your posts. your default post format. If you wanted to change the way a certain post is created each and every time, you can change that here. If you want to change the default link category, you can change that here. By default, you only have one link category, and it's called your blog roll. Press This. Press This is a bookmarklet. Basically, that's a little app that runs in your browser and lets you grab bits from the web. In the WordPress dashboard, it will tell you to use the Press This to clip text, images, and videos from any web page. Then you can edit and add more straight from the press. Then you can edit and add more directly from the Press This before you save or publish it in a post to your site. In order to install Press This, all you have to do is drag and drop the link, which you see here, to your bookmarks bar. So I could just click and drag that to the bookmarks bar area of my web page, which I currently have turned off. But once I released it, it would automatically add that up there, and that way I could use that to create different things as I'm looking on the web. Post via email. If you would like to post to your WordPress blog via email, you can do so. You'll need to know your mail server, the login name and password to your mail account, and then also set up a default category when posting. You might call that category mobile, since you're usually on the go when you're posting via email. Remote publishing. If you want to post from things like your iPad, your iPhone, or your BlackBerry or something like that, any mobile platform that WordPress has an app created for, you can remotely publish as long as you have the Atom publishing protocol turned on, and in some cases the XML RPC protocol as well. So if you want to turn both of those on, that will allow you to blog via various mobile platforms. Once you've changed these settings here, all you have to do is click Save Changes, and WordPress will automatically save whatever changes you've made. Now let's move on from the writing settings to the reading section. In the reading settings, this is basically controlling how the user reads your blog. So for instance, the front page displays. This is referring to what the user sees when they come to your homepage. So yourhomepage.com, what do they see? In this case, we have them viewing our latest posts. But you can also point the homepage to a static page and then defer your blog content to a second page if you wish. In this case, I'm just going to leave this on my latest post, but if I wanted to, I could change it to a static page at any time. Blog pages show at most how many posts. This means when viewing my homepage, how many blog posts does the user get to read before they have to go to another page. By default, it's set up to 10. If you want to change that, some themes look better with shorter amounts of posts, some themes look better with larger amounts of posts. It just depends on your personal choice here. In this case, let's bump this down to 5 posts, and then click away from it. Syndication feed shows how many posts. This means when someone's viewing your RSS feed, how many new items are going to be displayed. I'm just going to leave this on the default of 10. For each article in a feed, do you want them to see the full text or only a summary? In most cases, you'd want them to see the full text. Once we've finished changing these settings, we'll click Save Changes. Now that I've saved my changes, let's take a look at our discussion preferences. In the discussion section, this is where you get to set up all of the different aspects of interaction that get to happen on your WordPress site. Do you allow people to post comments on new articles? Do you require the comment author to fill out their name and email address? I strongly recommend this to help alleviate the spam problem. Do users have to be registered and logged in to comment on your site? That's totally up to you. Automatically close comments on articles older than X amount of days. So if an article is 30 days old, do you want to go ahead and close the comments on that? Meaning nobody can comment on an article that's older than X number of days. Do you want to enable threaded or nested comments? And if so, how many levels deep? Basically, nested comments mean that as people reply to specific comments, the comments get more indented to kind of show the flow of the conversation. If you want to enable that, just check the box and then set how many levels deep you want them to be. Break comments into pages with 50 top-level comments per page and the last page displayed by default. Basically, this means if you have a lot of comments, do you want to break them into specific pages so that people can cycle through them a little bit easier rather than having to scroll forever in a day looking for a specific comment. Email me whenever anyone posts a comment or a comment is held for moderation. If you're really into monitoring your comments, these are two options that you need to leave checked, because you'll get an email to the same email address that you used when you registered your WordPress site that will tell you that someone has either posted a comment or that a comment's been posted and held for moderation. Now, speaking of moderation, before a comment appears, does an administrator have to approve the comment? That's up to you. In this case, I'm going to check that on. That means if someone tries to comment, I have to approve it before they actually get through. Comment author must have previously approved comment. That means someone has to have come to this blog beforehand, posted a comment, and I would have approved it in order for them to actually post another one. If you want to hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links, this is going to help alleviate spam as well. A lot of the problems with blog spam is people coming and posting links that have nothing to do with your site. So therefore, you can set how many links have to be in their post before it's held in the queue. You can also specify that when a comment contains any of these words in its content, it will be held in the moderation queue. You can set up this list any way you want. The comment blacklist. If a comment contains any of these words in its content, name, URL, email, or IP, it will be marked as spam. So if you know specifically different types of comments that get posted to your blog that contain the same thing over and over, like let's say an ad for Chevy cars or something like that, you can block those items right here just by doing a comma-separated list of terms that you don't want to appear on your blog. Underneath that, you'll see the avatar settings. This will allow you to determine exactly how people are appearing on your site. So your avatar, do you want them to show avatars or not? I would recommend it. It just gives a little bit more of a personal aspect to your site. The maximum rating. My suggestion would be to keep this G, suitable for all users. However, you can do PG, R, and even X if you wish. The default avatar. Do you use the little mystery man, Gravatar, logo, or Identicon, or so forth? Basically, what this is asking is, if someone doesn't have a Gravatar or an avatar that's associated with their email address, what do you want WordPress to use to display for that user? In most cases, I just use the mystery man because it's a lot easier and more simple, and it goes along with most themes. Once we finish setting up these settings, simply click Save Changes. Those settings are saved, and you can continue working. Now, let's move on to the media settings. In the media setting, you'll be able to determine things like thumbnail size, medium size, and large size of images. As you get more into theme development and adding media to your WordPress installation, this section will become a lot more useful. Uploading files. Where in your WordPress installation do you want to store the files that you upload? By default, there's a section called WP Content/uploads. That's where all of your stuff is by default uploaded to. Unless you really need to change that, I would suggest leaving that on default. The full URL path to files. As it says here in the dashboard, configuring this is optional. By default, it should be blank. So unless you really need to specify this, you should just leave it blank. You can also tell WordPress to organize your uploads into month and year based folders. So basically, when I go into my uploads folder, I can go back and I can see things based on the month, based on the year. Whenever I want to go back and specifically find a file, it makes it a lot easier if I'm using month and year based folders. However, if you just want a big repository full of files, you can uncheck that box and it will no longer do that. Once you've changed all your settings here, simply click Save Changes and everything is set and ready to go. Now let's move on to privacy. In the privacy settings, basically you have two choices. I would like for my site to be visible to everyone, including search engines like Google, Bing, and Technorati. Or I would like to block search engines, but allow normal visitors. So basically, if you want your site to be searchable and crawled by search engines, turn this on. If you don't, turn it off. Most likely, if you're in the development stage, you want this turned off. Or if you're doing a local install, you can probably leave it off as well. But if you're trying to get publicity, trying to get traffic, I would go ahead and turn that on and then click Save Changes. Once you click Save Changes, you'll get a confirmation message at the top and you can continue working. Finally, let's talk about permalinks. Click on permalinks and it takes me here. And at the top of this, you'll see a little description. By default, WordPress uses web-based URLs which have question marks and lots of numbers in them. However, WordPress offers you the ability to create a custom URL structure for your permalinks and archives. This can improve the aesthetics, usability, and forward compatibility of your links. A number of tags are available, and here are some examples to get you started. So basically, this is what your links are going to look like when you link to posts or pages inside of WordPress. By default, you're going to see something like this. So here's the address of my WordPress site, and then / p equals 123. Or I could do day and name, which would then give me the year, month, and day of the post, as well as the post title. I can do month and name, which only gives me the year and the month, and the post title. Or I can do numeric, which just gives me an archive / whatever the number of the post is. Or you can also determine your own custom structure. If you're going to get into custom structure, my suggestion would be to come up to the top here and view the number of tags that are available link. And if I open that in a new tab, it's going to take you to the WordPress Codex and allow you to view the different types of permalinks that you have the ability to create. I would not get into permalinks until I have thoroughly read this section. Now I'll go ahead and close this up, and I'm just going to set mine to day and name. And you'll see here it automatically puts in the structure for me. And I can also set up optional category bases and tag bases. By default in WordPress, WordPress would suggest that you call categories categories and tags tags. But let's say you want to call categories topics. You can call them topics here. Or if you want to call tags keywords, you can call them keywords here. And once you've entered in those terms, click Save Changes, and it will automatically save that as a part of your WordPress install. Now that you've got a pretty good idea of the WordPress settings that are available to you in the admin area, take some time, go through each one of them, see what works for you, and go from there. It's going to be a learning process and something that will evolve over time, but sooner or later you'll have your WordPress settings down so that each and every time you create a new WordPress blog, you'll go right in and know exactly what to do.